doing it yourself is called stupid. And I'm just going to tell you, there's no other way to put it. I've never met anybody who became a really great boxer, really great hockey player, really great anything without letting somebody help them way above where they're at that can see what they can't see. And that's the difference. Who can see what you can't see that can help you get where you want and is not going to be your friend, your mom, your wife, your relative. It is somebody outside that specializes in that.
Today's guest is Michael Bernoff. Michael is a powerhouse of energy and ideas. His mind processes information so quickly that he actually had to slow it down to make it understandable for new entrepreneurs in this space. As the founder of the Human Communications Institute, he is a leader in the personal and professional development industry. He has impacted hundreds of thousands of people across the world with his programs, book, audios, videos, and seminars. He is the developer of Human Interaction Technology, or HIT. This is a powerful technology that allows people to understand unknown psychological triggers and powerful communication strategies so they can increase their charisma and influence, leaving their average life behind. Michael is the author of Average Sucks: Why You Don't Get What You Want and What to Do About It. Michael shows you how to raise your average and create the life you want, resulting in greater financial wealth, physical health, and lasting confidence in all aspects of life. Michael, it's so great to see you again.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. We're going to have some fun today.
Yeah, welcome to the interactive experience, is what, like you called it yesterday. You told me to reframe it. Some people would call this a podcast. It's not a podcast, it's an interactive experience. And I said that this was gold, what you were spinning, and you said, no, this was platinum with diamonds. And then you just keep adding value with rubies.
And like little gold chunks and stuff like that on it. It's going to be very valuable. It's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're super successful right now, but I'm guessing it wasn't always like that. Can you take us back to maybe some of the early days? What were some of the early jobs you had? And I know that sometimes this may be a little slow for you. You're like, let's get there faster. So if you'll just bear with me, I think our audience loves these backstories.
Okay, so real simple. I was a kid and I grew up in a very middle-class environment. I grew up in Rockaway, New Jersey, this small little middle-class town. And I remember I told my parents I wanted to get a bike as a kid. They said, "You want to go earn it?" I started raking some yards, turned into a little bit of landscape business. I remember it was called Diesel Brothers Landscaping because it was the 80s and late 80s, early 90s. And I did that for a couple of years. I learned about marketing. I started dropping flyers on cars and did successful. And on my way to college, I sold that business for about $100,000 before I went to school.
You're kidding.
I am kidding. That's BS. The whole story. I've never said that before, but that's BS, right? That is not what happened. So wouldn't that be great? Like that first business you did,
Yeah.
you got rich. I did have a landscape business called like Diesel Brothers. Was in Rockaway, New Jersey. I did have that was fun. I wanted to set you up with that. I did probably make about $10,000 over my high school career doing it. So my story is simple. I talk about it in my book, Average Sucks. I am of a middle-class family. I grew up very average in life. I grew up great parents, nice people, work hard, got jobs. Dad's an aerospace engineer. Mom's a teacher. I remember going to like the Short Hills Mall in New Jersey where the rich people lived. Where are you from, Matt?
I grew up in Roscoe, Illinois, just north of Rockford. Yeah.
So this would be not Rockford. This would be Naperville I went to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. It does.
Get the concept. Nice, wealthy neighborhood. I go, Mom, Dad, where do these people get their cars they're from? Like, we're driving Buicks. They've got Lexuses. And I'm like, Rolls Royce, Lexus, amazing. My dad goes, they're business owners. I go, how do I do that? He goes, work hard, be a good person, start a business. So I was shy when I was younger, and I got over that a lot after a few things I learned about life. I could talk about that later. But I got into business for myself, and I was challenged a lot at the beginning. I tried to work hard. I tried to be a good person. The good person thing works. I tried to work hard, drove myself nuts, struggled for years. And when I found out I was going to college with my first business, I went to Arizona State. I got invited to not come back because my grades were bad. I was professional at partying and running my business on the side and like doing my little thing, my little direct sales thing. I went to community college, and this was interesting. Pay attention, everybody. I left Arizona State. I went to Mesa Community College, where the classes are run by actual business owners. But what was interesting was there were real business owners, guy that owned like a pasta franchise, a guy that owned a mortgage company. These were my teachers. And one of them said to me this, they said, you got to read a book. And they recommended a bunch of books. There was everything from like Wealth of Nations to this. And one of these books, picture this, like the single young 19-year-old kid. I don't know if I have it here. It was this: How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
Dale
Absolutely.
Carnegie. I don't think I even ever read it. And I teach influence for a living right now. I think I read it afterwards, part of it at least. And I had no idea up to that point that you could read yourself better. I thought influential people were either born that way or they were that way. I had no idea you could learn yourself better. And my life transformed when I started to learn that you could, that the people that got where they wanted to go that weren't currently there learned, educated, and found their way to get better, not through just hard work. And that is really how it all began. And for the last, since 2003, 23 years, I've ran something called the Human Communications Institute, teaching people how to transform themselves through coaching, on how to get people that aren't where they want to go to where they want to go through changing the way they communicate with themselves and others and get people to respond differently. And that's been my business because nobody taught me, nobody showed me, and I didn't want other people to feel that way.
So it's amazing. We'll get into the whole coaching thing in just a little bit because you're one of the, every time you speak at the group, I'm amazed. And I usually write it down or record
Thank you.
it because it's just so chock full of knowledge. So, this one book, what other books did you read or classes? Because you have a gift of
Yep.
communication.
Yep. Yep.
How did you get there? What else?
So if I were to slow that down, I'm thinking this in my head right now. I'd slow it down, is when I first got into personal development, I met a guy named Tom. He was a pet safety guy. You never know who you're going to meet. He sold Tom sold CPR for pets. He walked up to me. I was about maybe 20, 21 years old. And he said, "You know who you remind me of?" I'm like, "You say it, I'll kill you." I've been getting the Tony Robbins thing since I was a kid. I got a similar voice and we're both
Yeah.
about the same height. And he goes, "I used to work for Tony back in the day. Are you familiar with neuro linguistic programming?" And I knew it all back then. I thought I had it all figured out. And I got into whatever it is he convinced me. And I started reading books and learning about neurolinguistic programming. I took a couple classes. And that was my initial study of like, wow, there's a conscious mind and an unconscious mind. And most people are talking consciously in an average way. And advanced communicators, whether they realize it or not, are talking at a deeper level with people. So that was my first understanding. So I got obsessed with neuroscience. I got obsessed with what makes people do what they do. And that was my big twist, was really to learn like, how do human beings transform their mind? And it's through their unconscious mind.
Did you take classes or were these books that
I
you were
took
reading?
some classes. I don't think you can learn from a book. I mean, I'm sorry. I wrote a book. I sold 55,000 freaking copies of my book. I'm very much, I read books all the time. I have 100,000 books. I probably own, literally, no joke, like 10,000 books in my couple libraries I have. And I love books, but I don't think we learn from books. I think we start the process through books. Like Mr. Miyagi says, you don't learn karate from a book. You learn from being in the real world. So I believe it's courses, classes, but also being in the real world. It's what you pick up, you hear, you read, you understand in a book, and then you practice it in reality, and that's when you learn.
So you took these classes and
Yep.
started doing NLP.
Yep.
And when
Yep.
did you start the business? How soon did
Well,
you
right
do
around
that?
the same time. So I was in direct sales. I was selling direct sales products, different things like network marketing at a very young age, like doing direct sales, trying to sell things, learning sales, figuring it out. And right around that time, I got into the neurolinguistic programming. And then I started doing training for my company. And they were like, "Hey, you're really great at this." And I started training some other companies, some other people, and I started getting better at sales. My business would grow. Then my side business grew. So it was when my side business of training people superseded my traditional sales that I said, this is where my calling is in life. This is where God wants me to be, is to be helping people and serving them at this capacity.
What's been the most influential thing that you've learned through NLP that's helped you?
I'd say the biggest thing is really being aware that, I guess this is it. Just, we can write this down, everybody, is it's not what you say. It's really how what you said was heard. You speak for response. You don't speak to sound good. And most people want to sound good and they want to like, I want it to be eloquent. I want it to sound good. I want it to look good. I don't give a crap about any of that. I need you to respond the way that you need to be responding and the way I want you to respond. So I speak for response. I don't speak for sound good.
Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. What is your traditional business?
Currently, my main business is I train paramedics.
Very good. So you train paramedics. When a paramedic is got somebody who's messed up in the back of an ambulance, why are they talking to them for the first couple seconds?
To figure out whether they have an airway.
Bingo. So can you tell me about yourself? You seem like a smart person. You're a healthy guy, John. Am I right about this?
Yeah, don't go down that path right away because you're basically just, hey, what's your name?
Yeah.
And
Hey, what's your name? Great. So, okay, great. So do you live nearby? Awesome. Great. I just want to make certain because I want to keep you conscious. So we're talking for a reason to keep them conscious, to keep their airway going. Like when 911 operators are on the phone with people, what is the reason they're talking?
usually the main thing is to get an address.
I need to keep you on the phone comfortable to have an address to keep you safe. Because if I keep you talking, the bad guy's probably not going to hurt you while you're talking. Did you know? That's a big thing, isn't it? And think about that for a second. When the bad guy hears you talk, where are you at? I want to make sure. Can you tell me where you're at? What's going on? And also to keep you on the phone long enough to get the people to show up. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to get as much data as possible. So imagine like, well, what's the script for that person? It's not what's the script. Here's a few things that might work, but the reason they work is what is the response we want. So I speak for response. I first decide how do I want this person to respond? Then I start talking.
So I think an example of this that happened to me recently is I was talking to one of my coaching clients and he was about to go do a presentation and he's a very technical guy and he's big into the data and he was going to go talk to a CEO. And I said, well, CEOs tend to be big picture and then you have the tech specs over here. It's kind of like Amazon gives you the product, here's what it looks like and kind of here's what it does. But if you want the tech specs, that's buried down deep. Some
Yes.
of the people who are data people are not big picture. And so you need to land with both audiences depending on who's in the room. Is that
Yes.
kind of the
Yes.
communication that you're talking
Yeah.
for
So
response?
the big question, I mean, I really got to ask is like, what do I want to see happen here? We don't speak to feel good. We shouldn't. We don't speak to sound good. We communicate for a response. I mean, isn't that what we're really after? Like, why would you call your wife, your friend, your brother around the hall? Like, hey, Jim, are we just screaming, hey, Jim? Am I
Words,
screaming to my
words,
wife, hey,
words. Yeah.
Deborah? No, I want her what?
Attention.
Attention. Or I'd like, hey, get your homework done. I mean, think about that. Is that how we get someone to get their homework done by saying, get your homework done? Does that work?
No,
In the history of parenting, does that work?
generally not.
So if you want to get the homework done, we're going to have to talk a little different at the response. Hey, listen, I know we've been talking for about 5 minutes, and obviously your homework's got to get done tonight. So it's either we could start in about 5 minutes to get it done, or we could do it right now, or in about 10, 12 minutes, we can do it together. I'll let you pick. And now they're agreeing to do the homework versus like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you want that response, you say, time to get your homework done.
Yeah. Well, since you brought it up, your daughter was at the January meeting
Yeah.
and was that Maya?
Both my kids, my redhead tall one and my little one. Yep.
Was that Maya who spoke
Yeah.
in front
Maya
of the group?
spoke. Yeah. Maya spoke. Yeah.
So what is she, 12, 13?
She just turned 13 since you've seen her. Yep.
Okay.
Which is
She's
crazy. I
amazing.
can't believe I have a 13-year-old. Yeah. Yep.
Well, she's amazing.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about parenting and communication. One of my friends right now is going through an issue with his son, and his son is not listening to him. They've parted ways. What advice do you have?
How old is the son?
His son is 18, adopted type situation, and he ended up having to kick him out because he wasn't going to class. How did you do such a great job raising Maya to be the incredible human and the great communicator that she is?
Interesting question. Okay, first off, we don't do these in my house. She doesn't have one at all.
She's 13 and has no cell phone.
Not gonna have one until she's 16.
Okay. And what's the rationale behind that?
I have a 23-year-old. We've already been through that. And my 23-year-old would probably tell you that she shouldn't have one. Do you know what I'm saying? And she's a great kid. My older one's amazing. She was the redhead at the event. She's great. And what's interesting is the phone isn't the issue. We got to stop calling them phones. They're mini computers with access to social media. Do you know what I'm saying? So I didn't want that.
Mhm.
So we don't do that in our house. We know that. And we do things differently. So we do sports in our house. That's one thing that we do. And I can always tell you if a child is doing some sort of physical activity or part of something they're driven, there it is going to be better. So that is a requirement in my house that you have to do something. Now we don't have to push that because both my kids love it. My oldest was a college cheerleader and my little one is a highly competitive figure skater, nationally recognized. And why I'm saying that is what we do as parents is we are not perfect by any stretch. We have our battles, we have our fights, we do all that stuff, but there's just stuff that we do and we have, I don't want to say rules, but like we have things that we do from dietary restrictions to the way we do things. So if you study religion, right? There are certain religious groups, I'll just say it, that do better financially than other groups. Let's just say it like it is. Do you agree?
I agree.
Proportionally. Then you can figure out which those are.
Sure.
All three of them have a dietary restriction, whether it is caffeine, whether it is a certain type of pork product, or whether it's certain meat or certain things we don't do. When you limit some level of a biological function, you feel like you have control over it. It does give you control in other areas of your life. So We have certain things we do. We do vegetables with meals, and we don't eat certain foods. Does that make sense? Just because we don't eat
Yeah,
junk and a bunch of stuff. So we'll tell you
sure.
that's one thing, that learning how to control basic biological urges is an important thing. But with our kids, we teach something at our events called the human rights. And that is really whether you're going to give your kids a voice or not. And the human rights are, all of us have human rights as children. We have the right to be, the right to need, the right for us to help, the right to speak, the right to be ourselves. And we have convinced our kids that it's okay to be great, and it's okay to get what it is you want and get them to feel like they're special, what it is they do. And the biggest thing we've done is we don't tell our kids we're proud of them ever. We tell them to be proud of themselves. And
Really?
whenever Maya gets them from school and she goes, "Oh, yeah, I did great. I got an A on a science test." Of course you did. That's what someone like you does. And the reason about that is I don't want my kid to need someone else to tell them they're great. I need my kid to think she's great. And most people are looking for that serotonin dump, which is the oxytocin from another person. We need to learn to give that to ourselves. So it's really big in our house that we're very big on, we do our best, and there's always insecurities, and raising girls. Oh my God, it's a treat. That's all I got to say. It's always a new thing, but that's one of the big ones. And we give our kids our voice. We want our kids to speak.
I've heard somebody say one time that if you can help them, anybody, identify it's like me to eat healthy, or it's like you to do well on an exam, that helps create the identity and it kind of pulls you along. How else are you helping them with this not needing approval from outside people? Because I think that's the crux.
I
I
mean,
look,
we still have that from time to time. You still got 8 hours a day at school and different things, and it's still out there, and you're still girls, and there's still stuff going on. But if you build if you build the persona that you get them to realize they're special and that they're great and they do great things, that is a big piece of the puzzle. So one of the ways I taught this when we were at Genius recently, I said, most people speak from security versus insecurity, and insecurity from security. And what I mean by that is we usually get our security by making people feel insecure. We don't realize we do it. So, like, let's say you're a really good paramedic. Oh, I'm a great paramedic. I'm a doctor. I'm a this, I'm a that, blah, blah, blah. And you feel really good about yourself. Well, a lot of times people don't realize, like, oh yeah, I've been CPR certified for 25 years. Well, if I'm not, I don't really feel very good that you're telling me that. Like, I feel like shit because you just told me how great you were. So
right.
what I do is, if you ever want somebody to like really be great at something, you've got to recognize we've got to explain it to them in a way that fits for them and makes it work for them. So with our kids, like I always tell everybody, like, if you want someone to want to be better at something, have we even told our kids they could be great? So with my kids, I said, hey, listen, if you ever want to get better at mindset, I got a few things to share with you that I believe will help. Not now, but like just let me know and I can help with you. And then you walk away. 2 days later, they come back to you. Hey, daddy, can you help me with this thing? Of course you came to me. And what's amazing is let it be their idea instead of telling them to do it. So a lot of us want to educate people out of our own insecurity. We want to tell, here's what I know that you don't know, versus listen, if you're ready, you'll come to me, and that will be the time that we know to do it.
That was something you shared at the meeting, and I wrote that down. And that's been, I think, a game changer is the idea that,
Crazy.
hey, I'm going to throw a seed in your brain. It may or may not plant, but if it starts to grow and you want help and some water, I'm happy to help you with that.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. And
Yeah.
we have to offer that to people. So I don't know if I took it off track or even answered your question, but there it is.
No, you totally did. And I think that's some valuable advice for parents. And I think the other thing that you did was you told them it's okay to be great.
Yeah, it's okay to be great. And I say I'm really big on that. It's okay to be great. It's very challenging. We live in a world like it's very embarrassing to be great. Sounds weird, but most people don't get, especially if you're a woman. If you lose a bunch of weight, you do not get applause.
Hmm.
So you don't. You get called, I mean, all kinds of things. Not everyone does it. There's some great women probably watching this thing, and I'm not judging in general, but if you're honest and you're a woman, you realize you lose 50, 60 pounds, you'll get 4 or 5 applause, and then you get a bunch of looks, right?
Yeah.
Guys are a little different than girls. So when you do great in life, I'll give you just an example. What do you think gets more likes or loves on Instagram or Facebook? Well, I was going to give you two things. One
Sure.
is I'm engaged or my dog died. Which do you think is going to get more likes?
My dog died.
100%. You're going to get the rainbow bridge, in which everyone's had a dog die. You get the freaking rainbow bridge, likes, comments, hearts, love. You got engaged. Everyone's like flipping you off. Like some are going to be happy, but you're
Yeah.
going to get their heart because we connect as human beings over pain and drama. And the reason we connect is we come together better over problems because it's a community thing. If we talk about the problem, we can figure out how to make it not happen again. We are driven our minds to seek not negative, but the worst case scenario so it doesn't occur so we can stay alive.
Yeah. When I lived in Alaska, we went down to the dock one day and they're called pots, but they're just big plastic containers. And they had some king crabs in there, and the king crabs had no lid. And one of the crabs started crawling out of the pot. And I remember asking one of the guys, I said, "Why don't you put a lid on that pot?" And he said, "I don't need to, because eventually the other crabs will take that one who's trying to climb out and they pull it down." And this has been an analogy I've noticed throughout my life, is that if you are climbing and you're getting to the next level and you're becoming great, there are people who will literally grab you and try and pull you back in because you're separating yourself from the tribe or from the rest of them, and they don't want to see it. And it's been an amazing thing to see. And you're right that if I posted, "Hey, I just closed a deal worth this amount," most people are going to be like, "Yeah, okay, great job." But if I said I lost my job, it goes the other way.
Matt, I went to one of my classes to give that example. I do this thing. I said, I challenge everyone to do this. And I don't know how people do this. I said, and I challenge you folks listening right now to do this. I want you to decide. Let's just say you want to work on becoming more influential, because I guarantee if everyone becomes more influential, you'll be a better business owner. Let's just use that as an example, or a communicator. And I want you to email, text 3 people that matter to you in your life, not your wife, not your husband, just 3 people that matter outside of your family, because you get a different response from them. Pick 3 people, and I want you individually to send a message. Hey, Ken, it's Matt. I just want to let you know over the, hey, what's going on, how the Yankees, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But over the course of the next couple months, I'm going to be working on becoming a better communicator. Send it to 3 people. 90% of the people are going to give you a thumbs up or say, that's great. Very rarely are you going to get this response. You might even get, that's cool, or what made you do that? Less than 1% of you will get, sounds great, how can I help? Until you get 100 for 100, sounds great, how can I help? You do not have the right team in your life.
How
We
can a
need to,
business owner or an entrepreneur use that? How do we communicate better to our students, our instructors, our employees, coworkers? How do we use what you're teaching?
we start talking the way ourselves, and we start doing that. Someone goes, I got a new initiative I want to do for marketing. That sounds amazing what you've got going on. Let me know how I can help. The second we start talking that way, eventually people will talk that way back.
How can I help?
That's the culture we must build.
What do most people get wrong if they're on a journey of change and they're wanting to go from here to here? And this is something you're an expert at. Where do they start? And what's one simple thing that they could do to start changing their lives?
Let's be more specific. Give me an example. Draw me a person, tell me about a person, give me an idea. Let's make somebody up.
Okay, you have a middle-aged man who is struggling with weight loss. He's tried every diet under the sun. He's tried keto. He's tried you name it, and he's still struggling. He's not losing the weight.
So what we need to do is you got to change that guy's standard in life. And how we do that is very simple. So what I would do with that guy, I have a little something called, I don't believe in the whole massive action. Massive action usually leads to massive burnout and most people quit. I don't like massive action at all. I think massive action works for very few people. And if it was going to work for you, already would have done it. It just doesn't serve the way it needs to. So I do something called MAP, which is minimum action progress plan. So what I would tell is this guy is this. I'd say, all right, well, we figure out what he needs to do. So let's say a guy needs to lose weight. His plan is probably going to be like, I'm going to go complete carnivore and I'm going to work out 6 days a week. You know, he's going to say that, right?
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, here's the plan. You're probably going to have to start eating 5 times a day and more meals versus less meals. And that's, or pick which one you're going to do. Let's just pick 5 meals. And what I'm going to ask you to do is very simple. I'm going to ask you to, and you're probably going to have to work out twice a day, which is like cardio and weights, because we're just going to have to. It's just going to have to do. But instead of doing that, what I want you to do is I want you to next week, all I want you to do is go out there and I want you to eat. Let me know how many healthy meals you eat in a week. And I want you to let me know how many times you exercise on average. And I just want you to tell me what happens. Well, most people are going to come to me when I say, I told them they had to exercise 21 times a week or 14 times a week and eat 40 healthy meals or whatever it is. I said, I just want you to do whatever you want, do what you want. Let me know what you do. And the guy's probably going to come back to me and go, you know, Michael, I did my plan. I ate about 6 healthy meals last week and I worked out 3 times. I said, great. He goes, now can I go do the whole thing? I said, all I want you to do this week is 6 and 3 again. Go eat 6 healthy meals. That's all you got to do this week. And then work out 3 times. He goes, no, but I want to do more. I said, you're not allowed to. It's all I want you to do. So the second week, he does 6 and 3. Comes back that second week. He goes, well, what do I do right now? I said, okay, here's what I do. 6 and 3. 6 healthy meals. All you have to eat like shit the rest of the meals. I don't care. Don't work out the other days. You're not allowed to. Don't do it. He does 6 and 3. What we find out at that moment is we just found out his standard. We find out what he does without being pushed. Now, if I can get him to do 7 or 8 healthy meals in a week, which is a major jump, and exercise potentially 4 times in a week, which is what, 20% more, 30% more, we're getting somewhere. Most people want to go to 0 to hero versus we just need to know what you would do if you weren't forced to do it. And then we need to add a little bit to it. It isn't even about subtract, it's add. Most people want to subtract when it comes to this diet. We need to add. Don't subtract bad food. We need to add healthy meals. So why I'm bringing that up is that's where I start with people is like, I need to find out what you do naturally. Well, Michael, I don't do anything. Great. Then all I want you to do this week is here's your plan. Let me know how many healthy meals you eat and let me know how many times you move your body. And once I know that, we will build from there.
That's amazing. I think most people, like you said, want to go from 0 to hero or jump in the deep end of the pool and start splashing around trying to figure stuff out rather than saying, I'm going to wade in, I'm going to get my ankles wet, I'm going to, keep going until I start floating a little bit, and then I'm going to start kicking a direction.
Yep. I want to take it away from you. So it's the opposite. I'm not going to let you have what you say you want. I'm actually going to make you pissed off and want it. By telling you you're not allowed to do it is what's going to drive you.
The image that I have is like if you've ever seen somebody in a fight and somebody puts their hand out on their forehead and they're like sitting there swinging, it's like that's basically you saying, nope, stop, and making
We're
them.
going to rework it. So we want to find out what you do naturally so I could find your average and we can grow your average in life. And this is the part people miss. Most people want to have a great day and not have a horrible day. What if the thing we do 80% of the time, we could get a little bit better? We only have a few really great days in our year, and we have a really few really bad days. We have a lot of the same day. If we could get our same day to get a little bit better, that's going to revolutionize our lives.
Yeah, you mentioned the word average.
Yep.
You have the book, your motto. The book is there behind you, the
Average
t-shirt,
sucks. Yep.
the bottles, everything says average sucks. And it's an amazing book.
Yep.
Maybe we back up just a little bit. You want to tell the Dukes of Hazzard story?
Obviously, you've read the book, which I love. Yeah, I could. I was like really shy as a kid. It's funny you said Dukes of Hazzard. I have it here.
Do you have it in you have a
No,
car?
give me a second. I'm going to grab something interesting that you said that. My wife bought me this. I don't know where it went. I'll have to find that. She bought me the model of the Dukes of Hazzard. Oh, here it is. Funny you said that. She bought me this. I'd have to put that together one of these days, but as a metaphor, I was a kid. I still remember to this day. We remember these peak emotional experiences we have in our lives. I was about 5, 6 years old. I was in camp and I was like a normal kid. I was talkative and outgoing and talking. And one of the counselors, hey, what are you doing, Michael? I'm like, oh, she's like, why don't you go play over there with those kids? I'm like, oh, I went over. I thought everybody was great. I sit down. Within 5 seconds sitting down, this guy bashes me in the head with a General Lee plastic car. And I went home crying and don't even remember anything. Blacked out, crying. It probably wasn't even that hard. But if you've never been hit before, and I didn't have any brothers, I have a sister, I didn't get beat up a lot as a kid. I'm like, wait a second. My mind immediately, I didn't realize till later in life, that was the moment I went from happy go lucky to kind of reserved kid. I would always be shy after that, like walking into certain settings. I was always a little like I held back. I just wanted to make sure I'd wait outside of a party to figure out what to go in for probably a decade and a half until I started working on myself. I was a little shy, a little reserved, very shy, very reserved in my life, which is hard to believe now. And that came down to I said, can I play with you guys? And I got bashed in the head. And I realized if I ask people if I can be needed or wanted, you get hurt. So I had a little bit of caution. And that transformed my life and made me shy for, I would say, probably till I was about 18 years old, about 13 to 14 years.
I'm really surprised talking to a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are really successful. They almost all of them have some sort of trauma like that they carry with them throughout the rest of their lives. And how were you able to get over that and to recognize that it came back to that one specific moment?
I didn't realize until later. I was at an event once, and like we like walking through things that happened in our lives, and we figured it out. I was at an event. And I don't even know where I was, but I remember like writing out my life story, and I'm like, wow, that happened. I had no idea, and I started tying it together. And how I got over it was I took on a different identity. I was identifying as a shy person. I don't know what made me do this around 15, 16 years old. I got into the fake ID business, and high school kid. Was a typing class, the New Jersey license. I figured Courier font, learned how to make an ID. I was taller, I looked older, and I took on the identity of like a guy that I was a business owner. I wanted a young kid. I wanted to support. It was no big deal. I was buying alcohol. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I wasn't falsifying documents. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe it was. But the point is, I had a fake ID and I got into, let's say, partying or drinking or whatever it is. And what happened was when I got older, I took on a different identity. And instead of the shy kid, I took on the idea as the party guy, the guy that gets alcohol, the guy for prom weekend that gets all the booze and all that stuff. Like I took on that other identity and I wanted to be known as something else. So I went from like a really shy kid to the guy that partied and drank a lot. I don't drink anymore, but like that's what I did.
Were you actually using words or telling yourself I'm outgoing, or how did you change that personality? What did that look like? What was that model?
No, this is interesting. So I do personal development now, but back then, man, I was watching movies all the time. Being from Jersey, I'd watch The Godfather, watch Goodfellas, I'd watch NYPD, Law and Order, and I watched all that. Like, it doesn't matter what you get in mind. Like, these criminal guys are really kind of cool, right? Like, they're like, it's kind of cool. So I wanted to be a little bit edgy, and the girls liked them, and I wanted like people to like me. So I took on an edge. I didn't want to really do crime, but I did the fake ID thing. So I just took on an identity of like that's who I was, and I acted like an older kid. I pretended I was an older kid. I did the things I needed to do, and that's how I built my identity.
And then
I
use
never
that
really
as
talk about this. This is a new this I mentioned this briefly in my book, so let's dig as much as you want on this. I don't talk about this openly usually.
well, I think it's amazing because it's a really powerful story. And so many people that have a real transformation, they have an identity here. And then they say, my identity should be here, but they don't know how to get from here to here. And that's, I think, one of the things that you're great at is a transformational coach,
Yep.
turning that key, turning the lights on in the attic, however, whatever analogy you want to use. So you used that change, and
Mhm.
then you also use that in hockey.
Yep.
Was
Yeah,
that the,
I do it a lot myself. I did it recently with my daughter too, because I said to her, my figure skater daughter, I said, you can either be the kid who takes a long time and figures it out, or you can choose to be the best. It's really going to be what you choose. Like it's how you really choose to do it. So I played ice hockey my whole life, and I spent, I would say 32 years. It didn't happen until I was about 39 years old. I caught on. I'm like, wait, why don't I score goals? I'm 6'7", 240 pounds. I used to hit people. I was a big guy. I played, I was a defenseman, moved to center my junior, senior year, never really a great hockey player at all. And I was good, but I wasn't like I could play, I could do other things. And I'm like 39 years old, 40 years old, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what are they doing that I'm not? I'm like, they shoot the puck, I shoot the puck. They skate hard, I skate hard. What are they doing? Oh, they put the puck where the goalie's not. They had a different outcome for what it is they were doing. And that next shift I went out, I took on the idea. I remember this guy, Jack Coaston, I went to camp with as a kid. This guy was always score goals with a big smirk on his face. Look, it was like they called the quarterback smirk, total ego, like big old,
yep.
like that smirk. I took it on. I went out next shift, scored a goal, and now everybody identifies me as a goal scorer. A guy said to me the other day, great compliment. He goes, "You got a Division I NHL shot." This guy tells me the rest of your game is JV, right? He said to me,
Yeah.
like junior varsity, but you got a Division I college shot, and that's true. I have a very accurate, hard, ridiculous, great shot. The rest of my game could use a little bit of work. But why I'm saying that is I took on that identity. So I think a really good example of this is a lot of people want to get things done here. When I was working on my book, it took me 7 years to get that book done. I have spoke all over the world. I have a beautiful life. I made tens of millions of dollars at that point, tens and tens and tens. I did very well. I owned buildings, real estate, great life. You've been in my institute. I own the institute
Yep.
then. I got a great life. Can't get the freaking book done. And then one day I realized that a 7-year-old boy was trying to write that book that thought he wasn't good at school. I want you to think about
Oh,
that for a minute. A little 7-year-old boy that was told he had AD, or 12-year-old boy I wanted to figure it out myself. I told my wife, I'm going to figure it out myself. I'm going to figure it out myself. I'm going to do it. I went through publisher after frustration, after copy, could not get the freaking thing done. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I know I'm a writer. I know I can figure it out, but I'm not. And a lot of people do this. And then one day I'm on a podcast like this, but this is an interactive experience. And I look at the guy across from me named Brad. I said, Brad, I got a question for you. I said, what can a 35, 40-year-old guy like you do that's got a beautiful wife and every reason to do it? What can that guy do? And he goes, I never really talked to that guy. And then I realized, wait a second. How come me, the 40-year-old guy at the time that has traveled the world, that's talked all this talk, has a big team of people to help, what would that guy do? That guy would ask for help. So I asked my wife. She goes, we're waiting for you to ask. Took the book from 97% done to done. Tens of thousands of copies later, bing, bam, boom, the book's done. Why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because a lot of us are asking the wrong version of ourselves to do the things we think that our little boy, little girl inside needs to accomplish it. We have been through a lot. We are so capable of doing the things we want of the person we are today, but most people never ask the person we are right now to do the thing we need.
that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. It brings up when I train paramedics, we teach them one of the first things that they do when they get on scene is they're checking for scene safety. Is there anything that's going to hurt me or my crew? But one of the next things is how many patients, and then do I need additional resources? And so it's this algorithm of do I need additional resources? So you're looking at this book from a 7-year-old standpoint instead of from up here. And so where you are looking from changes your view, but you had to request additional resources. And if you had requested additional resources early, you would have had a better outcome sooner.
Yeah, and I didn't do that. I didn't ask a person that I was asking a 7-year-old versus a guy that's got his head kicked in, basically. It's screwed up a million times, had a bad business partner, figured it out, made millions of dollars, blah, 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 been to groups, has friends, all that. I wasn't asking the guy that knows half the people we know. I was asking some little boy.
How do you change that? And have you seen that happen again?
Yeah,
And
I have.
maybe,
And I have to be very clear. We have to look at where we're at in our lives. Like if you're in business, if you're scaling or you got a job and you want to go to business owner, first thing you got to accept is, are you where you want to be? And do you actually know how to get where you want to go? And most people, they don't. So the second we admit we're not where we want to be, that's when it gets great. The biggest limiting belief we have as people is that we know what we're doing. I caught myself with that yesterday. I said to my director of ops yesterday, I said to Shia, I said, Shia, I don't know how to get where I want to go. I've never done it before. I don't have a neural pathway for it. I have ideas. I know what it looks like. I know as much as a non-race car driver knows how to drive a race car by watching NASCAR. I have never done it. I've never been in the car. I've never driven anything faster than the Tesla. I have no idea. So I realized that when you admit you're not where you want to be, well, then you have a door opening like, okay, well, do you want to find out how to get there? Are you willing to do what it takes to get there? Are you going to do what it takes and get there? So I think a lot of us think we know what we're doing, and that's our problem. I don't know if that's the answer to what you were asking. I can help more, but that was what just came out of my mind.
oh no, I think that's great. One of the things that I heard years ago was who could I ask? And sometimes it's a book. You have a decade's worth of knowledge in a book,
Yep, yep,
which can help you, or who can I reach out to say,
yep,
hey, I've never done X. Who's done X? And then follow X. Success leaves clues and it'll get you where you want to go. And somebody's done what you want to do. It just sometimes our ego gets in the way. Sometimes it's pride, ego and pride kind of go hand in hand. So,
yep.
yeah,
We just
absolutely.
got to be careful who we ask sometimes because my daughter's got like 4 or 5 coaches. And this one guy said, this guy's an Olympic coach. He goes, I think she might have too many coaches. We got to be careful who we listen to. Like my original mentor back before the internet was that man up there named Jim Rohn. I don't know if you ever
Oh
heard of
man,
Jim. That was my,
Jim's.
look,
Were you in network marketing with Jim?
there's me and Jim as a young
No
boy.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah. So that's my guy. That guy, when he was alive, he taught me.
Oh,
I wasn't in direct sales with him, but I worked with him for a bit and he taught me and he mentored me at a young age.
that's so amazing when you talk about people who, you kind of look to, I want to emulate him. That's who I want to be. That's who I want to help. I want to be the Jim Rohn of this generation
Great.
and to help people. And he turned it around for me. I try to listen to his stuff about once a quarter and refresh it and keep it wet. So that's amazing. Keep the
I've
sponge wet.
listened to The Art of Exceptional Living 1,000 times. It changed my life. I remember 25 years old, pennies in your pocket, nothing in the bank, and the creditor's calling behind, and your big mouth promised your family, what's your problem? You're your problem. And I probably have listened a few thousand times. I still have it on tape back here.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, that's amazing that you got to work with him. He would be one of the top 3 people that I would love to go have dinner with.
Oh,
Yeah,
epic.
epic. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michael, we have just a few minutes left.
Yeah.
What question haven't I asked you that I should have brought up?
I
Oh,
don't have one off the top of my head, but how would we help some people? Like, what do you think
I
they want to know?
let me back up. I forgot to ask you about average sucks. It doesn't mean what most people think it means.
A lot of people, it's to get a reaction out of people. A lot of us got to get better at get reactions. Two groups look at me. One group's like, dude, I love your shirt. Others like, give me that look, right? It's not about being better than others. It's about your average that holds you back. It's the feeling we get when we're dialing a phone and we're about to ask someone to prom when we're kids and we're like, it's hard to dial the 7th digit. We dial 6 and we finally do. We spend an hour on the phone at the end. Hey, by the way, next weekend, what are you doing? She knows you're going to ask, right? And you're
Right.
scared, or that feeling at the edge of a diving board. Our average is the feeling we get when we know we're capable of more, but we hold back of what we're capable of. All of us have an average. It's what we do regularly, not our best day, not our worst. It's that 80%. We are never going to be satisfied with our average. And most people's average is not what they want it to be. The average bank account, what is the average daily balance you have? What is the average amount of employees you have? What is the average team size you have? What is the average this? We're never going to be satisfied with our average. We need to make our average better. That is what we do in baseball. We make our batting average better. It's not about our
Mhm.
best game, not about our worst game. It's our average is what gets in our way. So I don't believe people suck. I believe you're never going to be satisfied with your current average. You need to build the one you want.
All right. That's great. If there's an entrepreneur out there who's maybe hitting a ceiling someplace and they don't know what to do, they don't know how to scale, they don't know how to get to the level or levels that you've been at, what would you tell them?
Well, you don't need to know what to do. That's the best part. You just need to do something different. And the reason I bring that up is whether it's looking at it different or thinking about it different. So we don't want to beat ourselves up saying we don't know what to do, because you do know how to do what you're doing. You do know what to get what it is you have. So the first thing you got to say is whatever you've created, however long you've lasted in business, you got to realize what you've done up till now gets you what it is you do. So at worst case scenario, we get what we have, give or take 5 or 10%. A lot of people don't give ourselves credit. We think when we go for more, we're going to wind up in a really bad place. If you go for more, worst comes to worst, you wind up here. So we're in the worst case scenario right now. Okay. That just is what it is, right? This is what we're going to do. So if you want to figure it out, you've got to, number one, you've got to decide, are you going to do it yourself? Or are you going to be stubborn? Or are you going to ask for help? And what the most highly effective people I know do is they ask for help, and they realize asking for help is intelligent. Doing it yourself is called stupid. And I'm just going to tell you, there's no other way to put it. Like, I've never met anybody who became a really great boxer, really great hockey player, really great anything without letting somebody help them way above where they're at that can see what they can't see. And that's the difference. Who can see what you can't see that can help you get where you want, and is not going to be your friend, your mom, your wife, your relative. It is somebody outside that specializes in that. Like when you talk about paramedics, dude, I love my mom. She's wonderful, but dude, I started getting some heart palpitations. I ain't calling my mom.
Yep.
My mom is not who I call. My mom is not a paramedic. She'll give me a hug. You don't give someone a hug when they have heart palpitations. You back off their heart, correct?
That's right. And you wouldn't go to paramedic school by reading it from a book and trying it on your own. That would be dangerous, dangerous,
You
dangerous.
go to someone who's done it before that can show you that's got a proven track record.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the number one thing that holds most entrepreneurs back?
They have a vision in their head of what they think they should be doing, and it isn't actually ever going to be what they're going to do. It's sort of like when I mentioned the race car example earlier, like people have an idea of what a salesman is in their mind that is not them, it's outside. Like, I'll give you an analogy. People give me a dream for their life. I'm like, hey, what's your dream? It's like, oh, this house on the hill, or this beautiful house in Malibu. God forbid, no fires. Everything's beautiful. Got the waves and everything, and it's beautiful. And my kids are doing great, and gorgeous home, and business is great, and the team. I'm like, are you even in the picture? They're like, no. And they're like, well, I'm like, what, did you die? And they got the insurance money? Like, what the hell happened? And the reason I bring that up is we have a visualization that doesn't include us of what we think we should be doing and what success looks like. That's not really real in reality. So we see other people do, and we think that's what we're supposed to be doing, but there's a version for us. So I think a lot of us have this idea of what we think we should be doing versus what actually needs to get done. And the biggest thing that holds us back is most people don't really grow their own identity of themselves. And most people really don't identify as an entrepreneur. They identify as a struggling entrepreneur. They identify as that it has to be hard instead of an entrepreneur that actually makes things happen and things work out really well for them. And it's not positive thinking. It's changing that in their mindset. So like with my daughter, it's like, oh yeah, I'm the hardest working skater. I appreciate that. That is one identity versus I'm somebody that learns very quickly and figures things out. That is very different. And you got to decide what identity you want to take on.
So you could, as an entrepreneur, have an image that this is kind of the elf versus half, the easy, lucrative, and fun, or hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating.
One way of looking at it. The other way you can say it is like, you know what? I'm a person that loves to ask for help. I love to ask people. I'm a person that figures out things very quickly. I don't need to know all the knowledge. I don't need to be the smart one here. I just literally take what people tell me to do and I do it and it works. It's very different than I got to figure this out myself because I want to feel important.
I love that.
And most people become an entrepreneur because they want to feel important,
Really? Why do you say that?
because they're not getting significance from their job. They're doing a job. They don't want to be told what to do. They haven't got the self-esteem they need as a kid. They want to be in control of what's going on. All reasons that would make us an entrepreneur. But those aren't things to drive. Those things will get you going up in the morning and they'll drive you, but that shouldn't be the battle cry of your company.
What was the reason that you started yours?
Well, that's the part that it's an interesting concept. So I wanted to prove it to everybody I could do it. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted freedom, and I wanted to survive. And 15 years later, my business was still based on survival, freedom, and everything, and it wasn't growing at the capacity I needed. Then I realized is I needed to upgrade my identity and I want to make an impact now. I was already making one. I want to make a bigger impact. I want to help more people. So if you want to switch, you have to realize that your original plan will get you somewhere. But if you've been in business 3 or 4 years, look at your original reason for getting started. Okay.
You may need to upgrade the iOS, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. You've got to upgrade it. And that's what most people do. We don't upgrade it. We're like, oh yeah, I'm going to survive, man. I'm such a hard worker. I'm so good at this thing. I'm this. And versus, listen, how to do that. What else can I do?
That's great. Michael, what's the best way for someone to get started working with you?
Great question. You can get my book, but then again, you can't learn karate from a book. So get the book regardless. That's not a great way to work with me. That's a great way to get started. I've got classes, I got courses, easy things to do. Some you don't leave your house for, some you leave your house for, whatever it is you choose to do. I got a very simple thing that I want to do. Like, I'm just going to throw this out there. If you want to get a hold of me, I'm going to give you a number. It's 480. You can write this down, 480 800 8051. That's 480 800 8051. Send the word influence. I believe that'll be a good word to send, is the word influence, to 480 800 8051. It's not a autoresponder or anything. It's a way to get a hold of my team and our live human being. And you put that word, means you want to become more influential over your life. And we can talk to you about different programs and things and help you out rather than go to a website and try to figure it out yourself. That doesn't make sense. Ask us. We could lead you in the right direction. So get the book, Amazon, and then send that influence to 480 800 8051. And our call to action is a great place to get started.
That's great, Michael. Where else can they get a hold of you or find out about you?
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace. I don't know if they have MySpace anymore, but yeah. Come to the Institute.
Are you still on Napster?
Nope, but I should be. I'm on LimeWire.
All right.
Remember that one?
No, I never played with.
That's another one.
Was that the precursor to Napster?
That was after Napster.
Okay.
After Napster got closed down, LimeWire came out.
Nice.
Sharing files and stuff.
All right. Any other closing thoughts?
No, I mean, if you want things to be different, you've got to do different things. I mean, that's the way I look at it. You're doing great things, Matt. You got a great thing. I mean, you say I see rich people. Here's the deal. Like, wealthy, successful people, they do about 4 or 5 things. They all do the same 4 or 5 things. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly which 4 or 5 they are today. And there's about 9 million things that don't work. They learn themselves better. They believe that someone knows how to do things that they don't do. They get themselves in the right state of mind. They stick in the game long enough. They work on being creative. They reinvent themselves. And then there's 9 million other things that'll never freaking work. And I would just say, find the 4 or 5 things that everyone consistently does. It's like the book Think and Grow Rich. Find the 4 or 5 things, get your thinking on track, get your mindset on track, and you'll be amazed what happens.
Yeah. And part of the journey of an entrepreneur is there's no straight line. So you have to wade through this stuff and figure out what does and doesn't work and learn as fast as you can. Absolutely.
100%. 100%.
Right.
You're doing big things. I love that you're doing this for the entrepreneurial world.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Michael, you've added a lot of value to our listeners and our viewers. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. And I look forward to having you on the podcast, the interactive experience again.
I love it. Definitely again, invite me back. I'll be here.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael. Hey, real quick. We're building a community of entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. These are people just like you who want to start or grow their businesses and are ready to take the next step. If that sounds like something you want to be a part of, sign up and join us today.